Being poor is expensive, and that sounds unfair because when someone has less money, you would think they spend less, but real life often works the other way around. Poverty is not just having a low balance, poverty is having no room for mistakes, no room for surprises, no room for one bad day, because when you have no financial space, even a small problem can become a crisis. And the hardest part is this: poverty does not only take your money, it takes your time, it takes your energy, it takes your peace, and sometimes it takes opportunities that could have changed your life. Finn learned this the hard way. One day, his shoes started falling apart. He knew the better pair would last longer, but the better pair cost more. And Finn did not have more, so he bought the cheapest pair he could find. At first, it felt like he had saved money, but a few weeks later, the shoes started breaking again. So he paid again, and slowly Finn realized something painful. Sometimes cheap is not really cheap. Sometimes cheap is just expensive in small pieces. And it was not only shoes, it was his phone charger, his backpack, his tools, small things breaking over and over again. Not because Finn wanted bad quality, but because he could not afford the better choice at the moment he needed it. That is one of the hidden costs of being poor. You do not always choose the best option. You choose the option you can survive today, even if it costs you more tomorrow. Then came the unexpected bill. It was not huge. For someone with savings, it would have been annoying. But for Finn, it was dangerous. Because when you have no emergency fund, a small bill does not stay small. It becomes stress, then panic, then debt, then a late fee, then another month of trying to catch up. And Finn started to understand something. When you have money set aside, you solve problems. When you have nothing set aside, problems start controlling you. That is why poverty feels so heavy. It is not only the price of things, it is the price of having no choice. And money was not the only thing Finn was losing. He was losing time, time searching for the cheapest option, time waiting because faster choices cost more, time fixing things that should have been replaced, time worrying instead of building, time surviving instead of growing. And that time could have gone somewhere else, into learning a new skill, into resting, into creating something, into applying for a better job, into building a future that did not look like the past, but survival kept pulling him back again and again and again. People often think the worst part of poverty is the lack of comfort, but Finn realized something deeper. The worst part is lost opportunity, the course he could not take, the tool he could not buy, the interview he could not reach, the chance he had to ignore because today's problem was louder than tomorrow's dream. That is what makes poverty so expensive. Not because poor people are lazy, not because they are stupid, not because they do not care, but because living without a buffer makes every decision harder, more stressful, more risky, and often more expensive. At some point, Finn stopped blaming himself for every problem, but he also stopped pretending nothing could change. He realized the goal was not to look rich, not to buy a better image, not to impress people who were not paying his bills. The goal was to buy back choice, choice to handle a problem without panic, choice to avoid a bad deal, choice to say no, choice to say yes when a real opportunity appears. So Finn started small, not with millions, not with a perfect plan, not with a completely different life. Just one small step toward control. First, he built a tiny emergency buffer, not enough to feel rich, just enough so one unexpected problem would not destroy the whole month. Then he started giving every part of his money a job: bills, food, transport, debt, emergency fund, skills, future. For the first time, his money was not just disappearing, it had direction. And no, everything did not change overnight. Finn did not become rich in one week, but something important started to happen. There was less panic, fewer rushed decisions, fewer late fees, fewer moments where life forced him into the worst option. And slowly, Finn felt something he had not felt in a long time: space, space to breathe, space to think, space to plan, space to make better choices. He was not rich yet, but he was no longer completely controlled by every problem. And that was the beginning, because wealth does not start when you show people you have money. It starts when life stops forcing every decision. Being poor is expensive, expensive in money, expensive in time, expensive in stress, expensive in missed chances. But the first step out is not pretending to be rich. The first step is control. Build a buffer, track where your money goes, protect your future first, because the moment you create even a little space between you and survival, you start buying back your freedom. And when you get your choice back, you stop only surviving. You start building,